All right, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Toon podcast. We are the biggest and best podcast for all things Newcastle United in the Southern Hemisphere. And today I've got a jubilant Lee with me down in Brisbane as we discuss the latest thumping down at Villa Park for Eddie's Mighty Mags. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right, thanks, Craigie. Cheers, Slim. Nice to be back on the old podcast after a 2-month hiatus, or whatever it turned out to be. Family over Christmas and all that. But nice to be back. Nice to, I'm absolutely knackered. I'm totally fingered, as Bobby would say, but because I was up at 6:15 to watch this morning. But it was class, wasn't it? It was a good game. First 60 minutes at least was pretty decent. Sort of went a little bit sort of nervous after the 60 minutes, but that's to be expected, I suppose. But no, pretty good. Tired, but that wind's kept me going all day, like.
Definitely. It's like I said, we're up at 6:15 for this one. So it's a 8:15 kickoff midweek, which is absolutely bonkers for any fan traveling.
What's the deal? Why is it 8:15? Is it because of whoever broadcast it?
It must be, because I think the Arsenal game was on a little bit earlier or something like that, so they didn't want to have two clashing at the same time. God knows. But I was a stupid time. But what was it? I think it was 3,900 fans over 2 tiers, something like that. Oh,
it's mental, isn't it? I mean,
it really is.
I wouldn't be surprised if they couldn't even get back afterwards. I haven't seen what the story is, but usually trains go tits up, don't they? Or all the hotels get sold out or something, and all our fans still travel down there in massive numbers. I mean, today they just continuously sang pretty much for the whole game. It was awesome. Villa Park was really quiet, but you do kind of wonder just how many of those guys and girls have managed to make it back to the northeast the next day, and how many have had to sort of, I don't know, find shelter somewhere else.
I wonder how many have called in sick this morning.
I imagine
sorry, boss, I'm in Birmingham. But I've got my cup of Brummy tears right here, and I'm sipping on those because they absolutely taste fantastic at the moment. But it was a cracking game. It was a good start. We'll get through the lineups, but before we do so, if you don't already, please subscribe to the channel. We are Nufc whisper away from cracking 1,500 subscribers. So if you can, please hit that subscribe button if you don't already, and give us a 5-star review if you are listening on any of the audio platforms. We'll dive straight into these lineups. We'll get the Villa team out first. They were the home team. Starting off with Martinez in goal, who apparently is the best goalkeeper in the world, according to an old Aston Villa podcast team member that we had on. And Cash, Konsa, Longley. Was Longley the bloke from Spurs that Miggy absolutely destroyed at 3-point lane last season? I'm sure he is. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one down in the comments. But Alex Moreno, McGuinness captain, Kamara, Douglas Luiz, Tielemans, Diaby, and Ollie Watkins make up their starting 11. Now, what was your thoughts going into this game, League, given our away record and Villa's home record?
Well, we always do the score predictions, don't we, before each game? You always stick that little tweet out. I got the last one right, nailed it. This one, I knew there was going to be goals because it tends to always have goals, this particular fixture. Home and away, really, there's always goals. So I knew there was going to be a few banging in. So I said 4-4 because I didn't really expect us to take all three. You've got to look at the record of Villa last 360 odd days, whatever it was, 80 odd days, where they've been unbeaten. And yeah, they dropped points recently against was it Forest, maybe? And they did the draw.
Burnley as well, I think.
But then after this game, I was reading a bunch of the comments on the fan forum because, of course, that's what I do. And to be honest, a lot of them were saying, this result's been coming for at least a month. Like, I mean, obviously we watch Newcastle, but don't necessarily sit there and watch other teams with the same kind of vigor. But according to the Villa fans, they've been not quite the same since they beat City and Arsenal. They've kind of been pretty lazy, lackadaisical, out of ideas. The manager's not changing things quite as quick as he could, or he's putting players in that he trusts more than players who have perhaps a better form at the time. All that I didn't know. I just thought, going to Villa, they're in 4th place. They've got everything to play for. They're trying to get that Champions League position to make it theirs. They've got a hell of a record at home. Yes, we stuffed them at St James's, but we got them at the right time, I reckon.
We did.
The season. And so I was expecting lots of goals both ways. Martinez, you kind of joked there, but he is obviously a World Cup winner, and he is an exceptional keeper. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, some of these other players are hot and cold. Like Matty Cash, sometimes he's all right. Sometimes he thinks he's Matt Grealish. Sometimes he's just terrible. Konza, Lenglet, Moreno, McGinn can often be very good. He sometimes drags the team along by himself. He chips in with a few goals here and there. Kamara, I thought at times in this game was pretty handy. I'm sure there's one point in the middle of the park where he took on like 6 people and beat them all.
He did, to
wriggle free. Luis didn't do much. Tielemans, I am not impressed with Tielemans since he went off the ball at Leicester. Your mate Diaby, he might as well not be on the pitch. There was that one time I can think of where he went into the box and he should have just shot at Martin Dubravka. Instead, he tried to cut it back to Ollie Watkins. And that's all I can remember. He did that entire game. And then obviously Watkins himself, who got the goal. But until Bailey came on, he was really just sort of wandering around doing not very much himself. So I thought this was going to be a lot more of a challenge than it actually turned out to be. We just basically beasted them in the first half. And I think what kind of broke the spirit a little bit.
Yeah, it was a few players in there that can absolutely devastate us and hurt us. Ollie Watkins in this same fixture last year tore us a new one when they beat us 3-0. That first opening few minutes when they hit the post and had a few other chances set the pattern for that game. But it's pretty much a role reversal for this one. And we'll get into the action very shortly, but we'll just get into the Newcastle lineup. So pretty much as expected, to be honest. Dubravka, Trippier, Schar, Botman and Byrne making up the back line. Bruno, Longstaff and Miley in the middle, with Murphy, Gordon and Isak up top. Now, one name that did return to the bench was Miggy Almiron. Are you surprised to see him in the squad? The fact that his transfer didn't go through and the fact that he was also suffering from an illness?
I mean, you never really know what the illness level is going to be. It's something that Eddie will see in the training. He'll make his own decision on that. The transfer thing is weird, though. I mean, do we even know if that was a genuine thing? There's been so much speculation and names getting chucked around, and it's very difficult to know what was just pure speculation and what was actually a real potential transfer there. You keep hearing people saying, "Oh, he wasn't really keen on it. He's happy where he is," sort of making it sound a bit like the club was trying to get rid of him to bring in some cash to balance FFP, and I imagine to bring some other players in. But I mean, who knows if that's even true? You could ask the same question about Trippier for that matter. Wilson's not obviously in this lineup, but Trippier, another one who was heavily linked with leaving. How true was that? How close was that? Was that just simply other clubs causing mischief? Trying to unsettle, trying to make it look like they're doing something to their own fans when in fact they've got no intention. It wouldn't be the first time Newcastle's been used to bloody boost another club's interests, whether it's our players or other players completely, or players themselves even, to get better contracts and stuff. So I didn't really think too much about Miggy being on the bench. I did kind of wonder if Tino would have started over Byrne, because I think the general thought was Diaby was going to absolutely murder him down the wing for pace, if nothing else. But it just didn't happen. Diaby was so out of this game that, like I say, he might as well have just been in a different team in a different continent somewhere. He was absolutely sackless. I mean, I know you said that he was mint and you wanted us to get him in the summer, but as I said in the chat afterwards, I reckon we might have dodged one there, because he was suspicious. But the rest of the team picks itself, doesn't it? I think was that the same team as Fulham?
It was, I believe so. I first 11 that started anyway. But game starts, and it started off with a fair bit of pace, fair bit of to and fro from either side. But Newcastle, they took control early on in the game. There was a few nice little tackles in there, a few little where compete this time, you're not going to roll, we're over and tick what belly like you did last year type thing. And one of the key stands out straight away was how Bruno impacted the midfield within the first few opening minutes. Don't know if you paid much attention to the midfield this time, but from the kickoff, Miley was on the left side of midfield and Longstaff was on the right. Whereas for the first 45 against Fulham, it was role reversal, and it didn't necessarily really work against Fulham. But the swapped it in the second half, again, Miley on the left, Longstaff on the right, and that just seemed to have a lot more impact and involve both players in the game more. And that's how he started this one. And I thought that midfield had a very, very good balance compared to how previous games have looked. I mean, what were your thoughts on the midfield's opening 10, 15 minutes?
I think you can really just talk about the whole team in that opening period. I don't think you. I mean, I know you're asking about midfield, but I think Eddie was right in his post-match presser. It was more like the Newcastle of last season, where we came out the traps flying in with some kind of hard challenges, closing down the men. When we were pressing, we had other men behind us, kind of taking up the space. If they tried to spin us or pivot and get out of it and pass, we had somebody in, as you say, in the midfield was balanced, so there was someone there waiting to intercept. And I mean, Bruno was fine. You know, he does that. He always does those wonderful spread balls from the middle out to the wings and that kind of thing. But he was, I don't know. I don't think he's quite at his absolute ultimate best yet. He wasn't at Fulham either. I mean, he wasn't all that great at Fulham. Let's be honest. He was better today, though. I don't know if it's just the level of the opposition. I don't know if it's the fact that there was so much on the line for it, because the other one was Fulham was FA Cup and this is the league. I don't remember seeing. I mean, I think Longy was a little bit off. I don't remember Miley was tidy, but I don't remember him doing anything particularly sensational. But as a unit, including the defense, perhaps particularly including the defense, we looked a lot more like the Newcastle of old. And I think just by that complete unsettling of Villa dominating their midfield area, we took it away from them. Kind of, we scored the 2 goals obviously in the first half, but I think even before then you could see one of the teams was much more into this game, much more up for it, and had the energy in the legs and stuff. And it wasn't Villa, it was us, which is brilliant, because there's been times this season where you've just thought this isn't the same Newcastle as last season. You know, there's too many injuries, too much fatigue. I think maybe the fact that we've only got 2 competitions now is starting to feed a bit of energy back into the legs as well. Wouldn't be surprised. Mm-hmm. God knows we were knackered in those 4 competitions.
Oh God, yeah, we absolutely burnt out. There was no way we would be able to sustain that over a course of a season without anybody left. Saying that, we've got anybody left now.
Buggered as it is, huh?
But game goes on and Newcastle take control. They are first at every loose ball. They are stronger in the tackle. They are faster up and down the pitch, and they are defending as a solid unit as well. Just not letting Villa get a sniff really. And getting on to the first goal, it actually came from a break down the left-hand side from Anthony Gordon, I believe it was. And the ball is crossed through, goes out for a corner, and Trips, who he has come under stick for some of his deliveries this season, where he just hasn't beaten the first man, but he got this one pretty much bang on the money for Schar's opening goal, didn't he?
He did. I think in general his overall performance in this game sort of has been elevated over some of the more recent levels in other games for Trips. You see, I don't know, maybe it's because of all the speculation around him and leaving and stuff that he's kind of like, right, I'm going to show you how good I still am, kind of thing, or I'm gonna just basically show the fans that I'm still dedicated to the club, or I don't know what it might be, but it might just be, like I said, he's had a bit of a rest, but he was much better today. His crossing was a little bit better. It wasn't perfect. I mean, still, you know what you get with Trips. But then again, you know, if you're constantly taking all of the set pieces, just by the stats of the number of crosses that you make, and there's always going to be a bunch of them that aren't going to be as good as the others. It's not like he's sharing the load pretty much. He's fairly taking all of them by himself. But yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of the times he just blams it into the first man. And it's like, well, that's that gone. And sometimes they're on a break on the result on the back of it. But this time whipped it straight in. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened here. Did it sort of float into the middle and Schar was kind of just ready to let it drop? I think he lost his 2 defenders. He had 2 markers around him, didn't he? And he managed to get in between the 2 of them or behind them and something, and then just kind of slotted it in. I forget.
I think the main one who was on was Douglas Luiz, but I might be wrong on that one. I think it was a little bit of pinball as it floated over a few people's heads, and it just fell comfortably onto his foot, and he just whacks it into that bottom corner. And you want to say it's a good finish, but from that distance and that sort of range, you shouldn't really be missing those types of tapping, should you?
No, well, unless you're long stuff, but no, otherwise.
I was going to get on that later
on. No, but I mean, I love Fab Schar. I know you asked in the chat, like, has he been the best pound for pound signing since who did you say, Rob Lee? Or
Rob Lee, aye.
Yeah, so he's been terrific. £3.5 million. Like, come on, man. That's ridiculous. I can't even buy a house over here for that much money. And you're getting like a Rolls Royce Swiss bloody football player for how long's he been at the club now? It's been a while, isn't it?
6-7 years, I think.
Nice. So you've getting your money's worth out of that guy like 10 times over. He's getting better. It just seems to keep getting. Somehow he's not getting worse, even though he's getting older. And every now and again, he still pops up and scores the odd goal. Usually it's a thunder bastard from outside the box, but this time around he had two pretty easy tap-ins, didn't he? In the end.
Yeah, it was a well taken goal, albeit one that he should be hoovering up every single time that opportunity comes to him. Runs away, does his usual whirly finger celebration. Yeah. No idea what that actually means, by the way. I don't think anyone's ever asked him or whether he's said what it means, but it's his trademark effectively. And we took a well-deserved lead on what I believe was just the 33rd minute. So again, 32nd. Yep. So we were comfortable, well-deserved on that lead there, and we limited Villa to pretty much that one and only chance that you mentioned from Diaby, where he cut it across when he probably should have took a shot. And as far as I remember, that was pretty much the only opportunity they had in that first half. They may have tested Dubravka from the edge of the box, but nothing else that springs to mind for you.
No, but my memory's terrible. But no, when was that one where it was shot towards goal and Dubravka got his fingertips to it and he pushed it sort of wide? Was that second half? Was that first half? I can't remember. I mean, the fact is they didn't do anything like near enough in that first half. No. Villa, they were shocking.
Yeah, for the team that was last season, they were literally chalk and cheese. But you'd think from earlier on in the season, match game 1, Emery would have learned his lesson from that high line for how easily we can punish and get in behind. As we've done it on a number of occasions before even that first goal went in, and we continue to do it right through up until pretty much the hour mark. Do you reckon Emery was a little bit maybe ignorance on that one? Or do you reckon it was just literally a case of this is my game tactic, I will stick to this?
I don't know enough about how he does his teams, to be quite honest with you. He didn't want to bring Bailey on too soon, or certainly didn't want to start him because he had some kind of back injury that he was only just coming back from, and he wasn't quite sure whether he was ready for a full 90 minutes. So he thought, I'll protect him and I'll just play Diaby, who cost him, 30-odd million quid, and has been at times all right, but certainly in this game, he was completely anonymous. Could he have changed things sooner? Yeah, absolutely. He could have took the warning after the first goal went in. As you said, we'd turned them a few times. He could have went, all right, I'm going to change things at this stage. But nobody knows why he didn't, other than him and his backroom staff, I'm pleased he didn't.
Absolutely, God, I. But 4 minutes later, it went for a double delight for our Swiss superhero Fabian Schar when Anthony Gordon rattled one in off the crossbar, albeit via deflection, and he was the quickest to react to another toe poke under Martinez. And there was a VAR call to see whether, I don't know whether it was for offside or whether it was for a push, I think maybe on Matty Cash, not too sure. But when I watch the footage back on NUFC TV, and you see that Villa player he's just on the pitch. He's a good 2 yards on the pitch, but he's a good 5 yards in front of everybody else, clearly playing everybody else on the side. Yeah. So again, I'm not sure whether it was for a foul on him because he did hit the deck or whether it's offside. But if it was offside, how does it take 2 to 3 minutes to clear something as blatantly and obvious as that?
Well, the obvious answer is because we scored. And only because Newcastle scored, do they have to then go, all right, lads, let's get the team in. Let's figure out how we can rule this one off. Nah. It obviously wasn't for offside, unless he happened to be behind the line, because that wouldn't count, would it? So if he was perhaps back, because I'm sure he was coming back onto the pitch at the time from behind the line.
If he was out of play, it wouldn't have counted,
Yeah, so I wonder if they were just checking where he was at that point. But otherwise, he was blatantly onside. I mean, he was in stupid no man's land, wasn't he, really? So maybe it was just for the push. I didn't even see the push, to be honest with you.
Nah, me neither. But
nice finish.
2-0 up. It really was, again, quickest to react. And, he's what, 32, 33 years old, I think, Fabian Schar now. Might be a little bit it's nothing, but yeah, he's definitely getting better with age. He's like a fine wine, isn't he? He's just
I'll
getting
tell
there.
you what, it was easy to think too much about that opportunity, I reckon, in my mind. Like, if he's had no time to react, he sees the ball comes loose off the post, I think it was, wasn't it? And it falls to him, and he runs onto it, but he still has. See, I would have thought he would have went to the near post because that's the closest bit to him, and you'd sort of imagine that in your head that would be like, oh, I'll go there. But obviously, he had the forethought, even in just that short amount of time, to hook it in the other direction. I think Martinez even went to the side that I expected him to kick it to, and he went to the side. So he caught out the World Cup winning keeper by doing that as well. I think that was actually a smarter finish than maybe it looked at first go.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one. It was pretty much. It's a type of goal you would expect Wilson or Isak to tap away, like a striker's predatory type finish, just because the strikers tend to have those slightly quicker reactions to most. But if Wilson or Isak had tapped that in, you'd say it was a proper predator's goal. But no, cracking finish. We go 2-0 up, and Geordie Delight is doubled on that one. However, not too much longer later, we have a bit of an injury scare with Isak going off with what looks like a groin strain on the 43rd minute. Now, he did just sit down. I didn't see what caused it. I didn't see whether it was a bump with another player, whether he just overstretched or what, but he was sat there looking a little bit dejected because it's his groin again. That's what kept him out for a few games a good few weeks ago before Christmas or whenever it was. And it took him a little while to regain fitness. Now, with Wilson being not quite match ready for this one and possibly even missing the Luton game, your thoughts on Isak going off injured and the longevity of that injury and what it could be, or what it could mean to the club, sorry.
Eddie Howe says it's probably not that bad, so he's obviously out for the rest of the season, isn't he? Let's be honest. I said in the chat as I was watching the game, I said Isak's not right here. Do you remember I said that? It was before he went down. I said there's something not right with Isak. I was watching him, and he was out of position at times. He was in the wrong position at other times. He didn't have any sharpness about him. He didn't seem to be anticipating things. He didn't seem to have the pace. I could tell there was something not quite right. And now whether or not that was the groin that he could already feel, perhaps, and it was affecting him, or something else completely. I don't know. Maybe he just had a bad night's sleep for all I know. But it was just funny that I was watching him thinking, this Isak's off here, and then I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes later he's down and he's off with his dodgy groin. It's just. At one point it looked like we were going to lose Dubravka as well. You're sitting here thinking, "Fuck, can we get through a game, please, where we don't have to stretcher off at least one player to take him to the bloody field hospital and have his cut his leg off or something." It seems like every single game there's something happening to one of our players where you've got to reshuffle the pack, or kind of makes you wonder how we're going to get through the next few bunch of games, and it's just so bloody frustrating. I'm pleased Dubravka got through because actually he did pretty well in this game, and
he did.
I'd rather have them than Karius, even though I still don't trust him from what he did to us. But that's another story. And it remains to be seen whether that kick to his thigh that he got, because it was a horrible tackle from Matty Cash, just went studs into him when there was really no option. There was no chance he was going to get the ball, and I don't even think Cash got even a yellow for that. But coming back to Isak. I've wandered off a bit there. Coming back to Isak, I think someone in our chat said, it's usually Wilson's fit or Isak's fit, and never the pair shall ever play together. I think there have been 1 or 2 occasions where that hasn't been the case, and actually have been on the pitch at the same time. Obviously, it's happened before, but it usually tends to be one or the other. So maybe Wilson's closer than we think. But it's just so bad luck because Isak's got that skill about him, that crazy kind of skill where when he's on his game, he's like, he can be our best winger. He can be our best finisher. He's brilliant. And I suppose if he's not ready for the next game and Wilson's not ready, then it's going to be Gordon up front, isn't it? And if he gets injured, we're really in trouble because Gordon was absolutely brilliant in this game, by the way.
He was immense. He really was. I tell you one thing, I'm glad they didn't actually risk getting Isak to half-time like they did with Joe Linton at the derby, because he obviously pulled his groin. They got him in at half-time, done the odd little bit of treatment, sent him back out a few minutes later, and then he was subbed off, which, hindsight, we don't know whether that is what's caused the end of his season or anything, playing those extra few minutes or anything. We'll never know. But I'm glad they didn't take that risk this time, because there's no way we could afford to lose Isak for any length of time, let alone the rest of the season.
Yeah, and yet that still could happen. For all we know, his season's done. I was only joking before, but for all we know, he could have actually, they'll do a scan UK today time, I imagine, ahead of the next game on the weekend there. But he could be done, for all we know. God help us if we have to go through the season with Gordon and a knackered Wilson.
Oh, not Jesus Christ. But that brings me to half-time. Newcastle have a comfortable 2-0 lead, and well-deserved 2-0 lead as well, although you'd think everybody involved with Sky Sports or whoever was on the commentary, they were absolutely devastated with the 2 goals that we scored. It's great when you hear the commentary go, Newcastle go into the break 2-0 up. You guarantee if it was Villa, they would be having the sun shining out of their arse, or any other team, to be honest. They just didn't like Newcastle winning, did they? In any which way, shape, or form. But I love it. Bring it on.
I'm sure that's more kind of just your black and white goggles on there. But certainly, we watch Optus Sport over here for the Premier League, and it was Townsend on commentary, wasn't it? What's his face? Andy Townsend. And some other guy, and yeah, there was just a complete lack of enthusiasm in all of the commentary about Newcastle. They were saying, you're going, you know what, they've done very well, have Newcastle, doop with his big nose. But you could hear in his voice, he was just like, oh, God, I'd rather be somewhere else right now, because Villa were just terrible. But, you can only beat the team in front of you, and we did, and shove it up your ass.
So, come back out for the second half. A few Villa fans, as I was going through where the Aston Villa hashtag at halftime, they were expecting maybe 1 or 2 changes as the second half gets underway. But both teams came out as they started. And the second half started pretty much the same as the first. We were dominant. We were in control. Never looked like we were going to take our foot off the pedal. And on the right-hand side, left-hand side this time, Lewis Miley has the ball. He tries a neat little back heel, but it doesn't quite come off. Loses possession. But him and Miggy gang up on, I think it may be in Derby. Might be wrong on that one. But it then breaks to Gordon. Gordon then gets it back to Miggy. Miggy puts in a perfect cross. Who's out on the left-hand side this time. Perfect cross for Murphy to tap in. And somehow the goal has given us an own goal to Moreno, I think it was. And you're a bit baffled by that one, aren't you, mate?
I was when I watched it sort of live. Jackie Boy reckons it was because the ball wasn't going actually towards goal. But when I was watching it live and on the few replays I saw it, I was like, I was convinced that was going towards the goal. I mean, it's a great big goal, and he's only on the corner side of it, so he's got the whole goal to aim for. I mean, Murphy himself afterwards was like, "What, Newcastle fans? Nice to be involved. Nice to set them up for an own goal."
Yeah.
He loves it, man. He loves the Toon. It's great. But he I mean, to be honest with you, he should have done a lot better. We got pretty lucky with that one. He should have buried it, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not even exactly sure how he didn't, because he just had to shape his body and hit it with his foot, and he kind of, I don't know what he did. He got his feet caught up or something, and it kind of bumbled off his shins or something, the ball. And obviously the defender wasn't expecting that to happen either, so he just slid it in.
And defender collides with the post. I think he's lying down more there because he's prided at the fact he scored an own goal rather than actually being injured.
I don't know, man.
But it was a hefty collision nonetheless. But 3-0, 50-odd minutes on the clock. We're pretty much in dreamland, considering, again, same fixture last season. And it looks as though we are going to be doing the league double over Villa for the first time in 10 years. It was the first top-flight league goals we had scored at Villa Park in 10 years or however long it was. Obviously, we've been in the Championship, they've been in the Championship, so it's a little bit skew with on that side of things.
Right.
But yeah, 3-0, and we're thinking game is done on this one. And then Villa decide they want to make some changes, take Diaby off and bring on Bailey, who kind of caused us some problems in his half an hour cameo, or until Eddie decided to make some changes himself. What did you think of Bailey when he came on?
He was class, absolutely class. He brought us like this energy that the whole Villa team seemed to have just completely lacked from the start of the game. He came on, looked like he had something to prove. He had pace. He had the beating of Dan Burn quite comfortably. Like every time he went down there, it was like, this is going to be Bailey's. He's got, he can do whatever he wants at this point. And he set up Watkins for the goal, didn't he? And he almost got another one out of him as well. But he was good. He made all the difference to the last 30 minutes for Villa. Really, I mean, I'm pleased. Well, 40 minutes because they got 9 minutes from somewhere at the end. But I'm when you think about it, though, he was on for effectively 39 minutes.
Aye.
So he managed to do. I think what happened was when they scored that second goal and it got ruled off because Watkins' toenail was offside.
Yeah.
I think I just broke the spirits. The heads dropped after that. It was like, well, because that was them on the up. They scored the one, and they were like looking like they were going to score as many as they wanted after that, with Bailey running us ragged. And then they got that one ruled off, and then it was just like, oh yeah, that's right, we're going to get knocked out of this game. But no, that was a good sub. And obviously, I'm sure you're going to touch on this next. Eddie did something to counter it, didn't he?
He did, yeah. So on the 75th minute, so 50 minutes after Villa made those changes, Miley goes off for Tino, which I'm surprised he wasn't brought on earlier, but I imagine Eddie just wanted to suss a few things out first. And he went to 5 at the back, 4 in midfield, and with Gordon just left on his own up top. And that just basically nullified the Villa attack because it forced them out too wide. They couldn't get anywhere near the box or anything like that. And Tino, he's not slow. He's actually very, very rapid. And it then just allowed the height of Burn and Botman and Schar just to hoover up anything else that was coming to the box. And the only thing they tried to do was cute little dink chips over, which Dubravka was hoovering up like there was no problem whatsoever, even though he was carrying that knock. But yeah, that totally changed the game. And that man management and that tactical change from Eddie completely won us that game. If you go back to a few previous games where he hasn't changed it or he's refused to change because he hasn't really had those options on the bench, then maybe Villa could have got something out of that game because we were starting to tire like we have done over the past few games. But that tactical change to go 5 at the back was absolutely genius in my opinion. And it's something that Eddie would have looked at, and it's something they probably worked on in training as well, given the lack of depth on the bench.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, we only had 2 real options we could bring on, and we used both the Miggy and Tino, and obviously we brought on Kraft at the very end, which was kind of almost pointless. But we used the 2 main subs that we had to. Well, the first one was obviously forced because of Isaac, but the second one was certainly tactical. And it's just, there's plenty of times when, as you say, but often there's plenty of times when people say, look, you could have put Tino on sooner. And, as fans, we sit there and go, Dan Burn, he's too fucking slow, turns like the arc. Yes, he's got long legs, and that does get us out of a lot of trouble. It gets him out of a lot of trouble sometimes as well. Sort of makes up for the lack of pace. But when he's getting skinned regularly, you think to yourself, surely Eddie can see this. Surely he should just bring on Tino sooner rather than later, rather than put up with this for another 10 or 15 minutes and potentially concede. So it was good to see that. I don't know what the times were when Bailey came on as opposed to when Tino came on, but certainly going 5 at the back when we had 3 goals and they had the one with towards the end of the game, it was the right decision to make. So we went defensive. We obviously started sitting back a fair bit and we were just punting the ball into space quite a lot. When we got the ball off Villa, we just hawk it up the pitch and just waste a bit of time. We also were throwing ourselves to the ground every 5 minutes because the ref seemed to just be quite keen on blowing his whistle for us, which was nice. But I think it was the right thing to do. Sometimes people like Ange, for example, say, "Oh, I've got one way of playing. I'm always going to keep doing it." You need to have an alternative structure, an alternative formation, an alternative idea if plan A isn't working. So it was nice. It was nice to see Eddie do that. It was nice to see it work for us. And it'll be nice. I haven't looked yet, but it'll be nice to see people praising Eddie for once.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a few naysayers in social media, as we've seen, and some of the players have as well. But they can eat humble pie on off that performance. They really can. Now the game's drawn to a close. There is a ball howked up the middle of the pitch, and I think it's Bruno who gets onto it first. Bruno then feeds Gordon. Gordon then feeds it back to Bruno, and Bruno then feeds it to Longstaff. Longstaff is 1-on-1 with Martinez. Can't remember how much is left on the clock, but if he buries this, then it's obviously game over. No questions asked. Newe Villara getting back into it. Do you think it is literally a case of Longstaff had too much time on the ball? Whereas compared to his goal against Fulham the other day, where he just howked his foot at it, swung, and it went to the back of the net. Do you think that could be his problem when he gets too much time? He just doesn't have the composure.
No, I don't know. I don't know if
he's
even
buried that goal.
Well, yeah, it's. I don't know how much is just him getting back up to speed. I don't know how much it is. Maybe he's lost a bit of form. It was kind of like a typical run, really. He runs around the back of the fullback, which he likes to do, and then Bruno finds him as a kind of defense splitting pass. But he was up against one of the best keepers in the world. Martinez is excellent at those low down, spread your legs, make yourself big kind of saves. He is really, really terrific at that sort of. He's good at everything else as well. But you see a lot of the times when players run through on him, he'll spread himself out really wide, and 9 times out of 10 he manages to get in the way of the ball. It's actually one of his fortes, in my opinion. He's just tremendous at it. So as much as we're sort of saying it wasn't a tap-in. It's not like the box was the goal was empty. But that all being said, when you're 1-on-1 with the keeper, you'd fancy your chances more, wouldn't you, than the keeper to save it? So I don't know if he scuffed it. I don't know if he, like you say, he just thought too much about it and tried to place it. Maybe in reality there wasn't that much to aim for with Martinez closing down the space. It's hard to say, but on first view, when you were like, "Oh, Howie, man, you score that, the last 9 minutes is just us sort of eating cake and sipping tea, isn't it?"
Yeah, it is. But thankfully, that miss didn't actually matter. And Newcastle run out 3-1 winners after 9 minutes of added on time, which God knows where they got 9 minutes from, to be honest, because that was an absolute joke. We went in out 3-1 winners. And did you happen to see Unai Emery's handshake by any chance? So he walks up the house, shakes Howe's hand, and he totally blanks Tyndall. And Tyndall's got a smile on his face as wide as the Tyne as he walks away. It's actually a beautiful thing to watch. If you get the chance, go back and watch it. But I totally blanked Tyndall. Whether there was some touchline antics like the normally is from Tyndall or anything like that, who knows? But he totally blanked him, which I thought was great.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Tyndall winding him up. Like, I did see Bruno get his chocolate.
He did. Paddy Power said it was the best transfer of the window.
It was for the fan. Bloody hell, he gets a match-worn Bruno shirt, and all she had to do was hand over a couple of Kinder Buenos. You know, that's a fair deal for the fan.
It's not too shabby, is it? But we'll get to the full-time stats. Now, these stats don't paint the full picture because, like I say, from pretty much the hour mark, we kind of sat back, absorbed a little bit of pressure and everything. But this is the full-time. So possession-wise, Villa dominant in possession, 61-39. They did just edge possession, I believe, in the first half as well, but they had a fair bit more in the second. Shots, 12-14. They had 6 on target. We had 5. 8 corners to them, 7 for us. 14 fouls and 12 fouls in our favour on that one there. Now, again, stats don't tell the full picture, do they?
No, well, I mean, the first half, I think the stats was basically possession was almost the same. We had tons more shots than they did. I'm not sure about the rest, but the fact is, after 60 minutes, we kind of just slipped into neutral and just started revving it a bit. I actually think we started off pretty tired, which is understandable. We didn't have a great deal of subs that we could bring on to really affect the game. So if people were getting tired out there or leggy, they basically just had to keep going. I know, but it was tactical. We decided that we weren't going to keep on pressing for for a fourth goal, even though we almost got one. It was mostly just a case of let's just defend deep, punt it into space when we get the chance. Let's conserve a bit of energy probably as well. And we've done the hard work. They don't look like they're going to score again if they played for 3 games in a row. So I think it was one of those. So yeah, the possession obviously went through the roof because we were just like, yeah, there's a ball. There you go. See what you can do.
They've done that with it. But I always, those stats don't tell the full story. But the league table's starting to look a bit better now, isn't it? We're up to 7th now, if you can make out on there. So we are sat on 32 points. We break our winless streak, thankfully, with that very, very important 3-1 win. I did actually say as the final whistle went that that's probably our most important win of the season. May not be the biggest, but it's certainly the most important from where we were to how this could be the point where we turn a corner and finally pick up some form and start climbing that table.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at that, 10 losses. I mean, the only people with that kind of number of losses are sort of 12 downwards, Fulham and all the way down to the relegation zone. It's been a tough run. Most of those defeats have been obviously on the road as well. So the fact that we managed to beat the best home team in the league at their place with our god-awful away form speaks just massive volumes to how well we started that game and basically shut down any kind of momentum Villa might have been able to spin up. It might well be the defining game of at least this half of the season, maybe it's the whole season, because we were down to 10th, we were slipping down 11th. You could have went anywhere, and now we're back into that sort of last European position. I think that's what 7th is there. And yes, all right. Look, we're 11 points behind Villa in 4th, but we're only halfway through the season. We've got 3 games coming up that present an opportunity to get more points. So Bournemouth, Luton, and who is it? Forest.
It is I.
Although having said that, Forest beat us recently, and Luton just absolutely murdered Brighton. So it's not like there's easy games coming up, but you'd expect us to beat Bournemouth and possibly get something out of those 2 other games. So we could be looking all right in the top 6, maybe. Obviously, there's teams around us, though. So you've got, West Ham and Spurs above us already on points, but they've played a game less. There's Man United and Chelsea sneaking up behind us with a game in hand as well, who can overtake us. So, we could end up back in 10th or 9th or something over the next couple of days. But we are finally getting that red L snake, chopping off its head, sticking a green W on the end of it. You've got to start the turnaround somewhere. And I feel like this could give us an awful lot of confidence. We've got to back it up on Saturday against Luton.
We absolutely do.
We're at home, so that gives us that sort of slight edge. And then it's basically, aside from the FA Cup, it's basically 1 game a week. So I feel like this could be the launch pad to get some strength into legs, get rest for some of the team in between each game each week. Notwithstanding the FA Cup. And use the confidence that we'll get from this game. If we can play like we did today against other teams that start that Newcastle of old from last season, like I mentioned earlier on, we could end this season. We end the season on a high. I was kind of thinking, look, they've probably just written this off by now. They're probably just going to float in the middle, try and get through the end of the season, and then hopefully have a bit of an FP spend with the money that we didn't spend in this window. But no, they're still fighting, this team. It's great. I think we can just take a little bit of confidence, see where we can get.
We absolutely can. We just need Wolves and makes me feel dirty saying this. We need Wolves and Liverpool to do her a favour by beating Man United and Chelsea respectively over the next day or 2, just so we don't drop down the table. Sitting in 7th, where we were, like you said, a few weeks ago, it's definitely an improvement. Big confidence boost over the last few games, beating Fulham, beating Sunderland, and clean sheets in those 2 previous games as well. It was definitely a record-breaking game as we ended Villa's home winless streak. Oh, sorry, I get that right. Home win streak. Undefeated streak even. I get it for the 14th time. 342 days, I think they went undefeated at home. So Yeah, it was good. They were turning it into a fortress, just like we did at St James's last year. I think it was only Liverpool that beat us there last season. But yeah, it was a good win. It was a much needed win, but a very important win as well. And just before we touch on some breaking transfer news, there isn't any, by the way. Who was your man of the match for this game?
I'm going to go with Gordon. I think he ran the channels. He did a noble job in the forward position when he was filling in for Isaac. Even 80 odd minutes, he is still legging it from one side of the pitch right across to the middle to try and close down a Villa defender as he kind of he's just getting ready to launch the ball up the pitch towards the Newcastle goal. The lad just never ever stopped. Even at he loves being at Newcastle. You can tell by the way he celebrates. At the end, you can see him singing along the E-I-E-I-O song. You can see him like going E-I-E-I-O. So he loves it. He loves being here. His performance today was just absolutely terrific. So I'm going to give it to him, but I do want to notably mention. I think Dubravka deserves a tip of the hat. I'm going to give 3 points to Gordon. Forgetting who I was going to give 2 points to. Schar. I'm going to give 2 points to Schar. I think I might even give one to Dan Burn because, the expectation from me was that he was going to get absolutely massacred. And a little bit wobbly at the start maybe, but he actually turned out to be pretty decent at that position. Until Bailey came on anyway. And a notable mention for Dubravka. So yeah, 3 points to Gordon though. I think he was terrific.
Well, if one were a top three, I'll go for Schar as my number 3. Then we'll go for Gordon, number 2, and Murphy as well. I think Murphy deserves an honourable shout. Considering we had 12 weeks off, and yes, it wasn't a muscular injury or anything. It was a popped shoulder, so he's still able to work on his fitness and everything I get. But I think he put in a very, very good performance, all things considered. But now we're going to get on to some breaking transfer news. Now we'll just touch on that review. Breaking transfer news is there is no breaking transfer news because Newcastle seem to have shut shop for this window. Now we are recording this as of 9:30 p.m. Queensland time here on the 31st of January. Who knows, by the time we wake up in the morning, there might be some other news that has come through. But as of right now, Newcastle seem to have shut shop. Miggy's not going, Trips isn't going, and I can't see anybody coming in or going. Can you, Lee?
No, and well, I was going to say that Eddie Howe says the same thing, but we all know he talks a lot of crap. He's like, nothing's happening. It's like that guy in Iraq going, "Hey, don't worry, there's nobody at the gates. We're definitely not under attack." And then the frigging tank rolls over the top of him. Like we had Harvey Barnes in the other room doing his medical. He's like, "Somewhere, lads, now it's going on," and he's right there, so waving at them from the window. But it's too late now, isn't it? It closes at the end of, is it 11 p.m. still in the UK today?
It is, I think so. Yeah.
Right. So there's a little bit of time, but like I can't see it. Outgoings maybe, but who are you going to leave? Who are you going to let go in? Maybe Fraser if Southampton want to buy him. Like nobody will notice. That's fine. Get him off the wage bill. Other than that, I can't really see it. There's no time left. We haven't got any money. We can't spend now.
No, that's it. FFP's crippled, as we know. But there is one name I just want to mention. He did return from loan. Isaac Hayden. Could he potentially have a part in this squad if our injury crisis continues in midfield?
I mean, Christ, if it continues, I've got a chance of getting in that midfield. But as for Hayden, I've always liked Hayden, to be honest with you. He was a proper pro for the club.
Mm-hmm.
All that talk of him wanting to go back home, he was homesick and stuff, and he stuck it out. He stayed with us the next season. He had moments where he was absolutely terrific in the middle, particularly in Championship. I just don't know if he's got the strength in his leg. He's injury prone, isn't he? I don't know if he's. I mean, last thing we need is bringing him in, and then he gets injured as well. But I don't even know what state his game is at now. I don't know if he's Premier League sharp, or if he's Championship sharp, or if he's just completely knackered because he's on the injury bench. It would just be a terrific risk. I kind of just have to hope that it doesn't get to that point. I mean, I don't know. I can't even
take his experience about just having a youngster in there who's not going to get any game time anyway.
Well, you could have said that about Miley, and here he is getting a new contract at 50 grand a week. I mean, you know, unless you start playing these kids, you'll never know where the levels are. I suppose it's some like Miley played because we didn't have Miley played because we didn't have anybody else. Now, if it gets to the point where we don't have anyone else, and we've got like what's his face that we've just had to, I'm forgetting the young lad who's in the middle that we've just recalled Ben something. No, I don't know. But
no,
whatever his name is, he could be the next Miley for all we know. I mean, I'm not sure how old he is, but it obviously would be a risk. But we risked it with Miley, and it paid off. Thank God for us. And now we've got a player who, how much do you reckon he's worth now? He's signed a new contract. I think he was just mentioned as maybe he's 15 million, but he's obviously worth a lot more than that.
He is. Not going to go into any depth of this one, but there was one person on social media created a thread how he could be our Jack Grealish in terms of an academy signing or academy graduate worth 100 million in the future, which could very well be the case. Who knows? He could be the only academy graduate that could be worth that in the next few years. But Miley, he's well deserved of his new contract. That is pretty much one of the better transfer deals we will do this window, if the only transfer deal we'll do in this window. But if any breaking news does come through, again, chances are we're likely to be fast asleep. We'll wake up hopefully to some good news. If not, we'll probably find out Wilson's been sold to Chelsea, and we left with Gordon playing up top for the rest of the season, as Isak needs groin surgery or some shit like that. That would just be our look as the season unravels. But you never know. Things are definitely on the up with that 3-1 away win at Villa Park. Come on, Eddie and his mighty mags. I'm sure we will do Luton at the weekend. And I'll just get a quick prediction for you from that one, Lonley.
Oh, bloody hell. We're at home, so I would expect us to win. So I will go with a 2-1.
I'm going to go 3-0. There we go.
I'll take that.
Bit of revenge on them.
Yeah, I'll definitely have that. I'll have it. Yeah, but I think probably they'll score.
We'll end it there. Thanks for everyone who has been watching. Thanks for everyone who's been listening. Again, if you do watch us on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Massively helps us out. And again, remember, we are so close to 1,500 subscribers. We would love to get that before the transfer window slams shut in about maybe 36 hours. Not too sure on the time scale right now. So if you don't already, please hit that subscribe button and give us a 5-star review on the audio platforms too. Thanks very much, Lee, for joining me tonight. Hopefully we can continue this winning streak, pick up 3 more points at the weekend against Luton. But we will go and enjoy the rest of this night and probably watch the replay of Fabian Schar's brilliant brace down in Birmingham. Enjoy your night, mate. I will catch you on the next one.
Cheers, Slim. Cheers, everyone.